In this video we want to explain to you how we would like you to come prepared on your expedition with your map already marked out. So you will need to either have a laminated map like this one here, and we will send you the map numbers that you need to get and also the best place to get them from. Or if you would prefer, you can print off your own PDF. So we will send you the PDF of your route. If you print it off, it needs to be printed off in colour, and then you need to get it laminated so it's really thick lamination. The problem with doing a canoe expedition is that paper disintegrates when it gets wet. So before you start marking your map, you need to have your map, you need to have some coloured waterproof pens, and you also need to have a piece of paper that you're going to be using as a ruler. The other thing you need to make sure you've got is you've got the letter that we will have sent you, which tells you where you're starting and ending each day of your expedition. In this example, we're just going to be showing you for one day. So as soon as you start, write day one on the section that's day one of your river. Okay? You'll know from the letter that we've sent you where you're starting. So circle where you're starting and then write start. Just makes it really easy. Then go down to where we've told you you're going to end. In this case it's at the campsite, and write end. So that's the start and end of day one. The next thing we want you to do is to mark those things that you're going to be either seeing or going under or over as you go down the river. So starting here, one of the first things I notice is I've got a sluice there. So I'm going to put an arrow to that because I know that I'm going to have to portage that. So I'm writing that there, putting it in a box. So this is a really practical route card, so that I know as soon as I start my expedition, within a kilometre, 15 minutes, I'm going to be portaging because there's a sluice there. It may be on the river you're on that it's a lock that you have to go round instead of a sluice. So going down river, next thing that's of interest there is that confluence. So there's a river coming in there. That's going to be really obvious for me to see. Next one I'm seeing, bridge. Very obvious when you're on a river if you're going underneath the bridge. It's also really obvious these features that are bending. I'm going to ignore those at the moment. I'm going to circle this bridge here. It's not a road bridge, that's an old railway bridge, so I can look out for that and I'll know exactly where I am when I've gone under that. Continuing down, I don't know if you can see there, but there's some islands in the river. I'm just going to put a mark there and put islands. Islands are always really interesting places to explore. Continuing on down, I've got another bridge. Keeping going, that's a very obvious straight part there. Then I've got another bridge there. Keeping going, I've got another confluence. Just circle that because it's going to be obvious. Then a bridge, another bridge. Keeping going, there's a mark across there, but it's the end of the N rather than another sluice. Keeping going, and then the next thing I hit is going to be my bridge at the end of day one. So that's the second thing that you need to do when you're marking your map. So the next thing, what we would like you to do is to mark every kilometre as you go down river. This is a 1 to 50,000 map, and it means that every square is 1 kilometre. So if I use my piece of paper, I can then mark 1 kilometre on my piece of paper, so I can then use this as a really easy, simple ruler to go down river. So 1 kilometre on the map is 2 centimetres. So starting here, going down the river, and of course the river wiggles a bit, so I'm just going to put a mark every time I get to a kilometre. And probably, depending on which river you're on, your kilometre is going to take you about 15 minutes to do. If If it's a really fast river, then you can adjust that. And what's difficult for us in planning is that we don't know what the speed of the river is going to be. But you can see I'm just wiggling my piece of paper around, and there's a bit of guessing to it, but that just means that I can wiggle it around. Hopefully that will then help us to work out how long it's going to take us to get to each section of the river. That's past my islands. So it's going to be really obvious when you go around all these wiggles, and it's the same, whichever wiggle you're on whichever river you're on, you'll be able to know where you are because of how the wiggles go. Because if you're on a bit that's going straight and there's not very many straight bits on your river, you'll know you must be on that part. Or if your bit is the only bit that's going south for a long way, and south on these maps is always at the bottom. There we go. And some interesting cairns there. So what we need to come back and do is to mark those things that are of interest. Here we've got to that bridge. So for bronze expeditions, they're going to be 6 hours in length. For silver, they're 7, and for 8, they're gold. Now, because the campsites are at set places, it may be that when you work out how long it's going to take you to do it, it's not going to take you 7 hours or 8 hours to complete. And so you'll have to find some other things to go and explore and have a look at. So just going down the river, and I'll do this in another pen just to make it obvious. What I want to do is to see what are the things that might be of interest to me as I go down the river. So there's some earthworks there, it's obviously quite high. Just coming down through here, just see some things that might be of interest that I can then mark. Not that many going down through here. It's interesting that that's greyed out, so I'm guessing that's some sort of special home. We've already marked the island. There's some chambered cairns, do you see there? I'm just going to put that as an arrow to that, because that might be something that I want to get out of my boat and have a look at. When it's written in that writing like that, they're medieval, so that's fascinating. The fact that we've got another one of those down here, I noticed, that's something that's always interesting to go and explore. So if it's not going, if your river is taking you faster than you want to, here we go, see cairns. So let's mark that one as well. So it could be the aim of your expedition is to find out what were in these cairns, who built them. There's a church there, and that church is in that interesting writing. So I would have thought there's something there that we can go and have a look at. Keeping going down here, and you see we've got the pylons there. They'll be very obvious, but they're not crossing our river. There's another fort up here on the hill. So that might be something that you want to get out and go and have a look at. Just coming along here. Cemeteries are always interesting to have a look at because they tell you about the people that were there. So that, I hope, has shown you how we were very keen that you present, when you come on the start of your expedition, you come with all the days of expedition that you're doing, and you've got your maps marked out, either marked out on a laminated map like this or marked out on an A4 map which you've got laminated and then you can mark on.